You know, a great design solves a problem, but a truly successful design, well, it does something even more important. It actually gets approved. Today, we're going to dive into that crucial skill, the one that turns your brilliant ideas into products that actually ship, the art of articulating your design decisions.
Oh man, we've all been there, right? You've poured weeks of your life into a project, you were so proud of the solution, you just know it's the right call. And then, the meeting happens. You get cut off, you get a little nervous, and suddenly you're playing defense, trying to protect your work from a storm of feedback that totally misses the point. You walk out of that room with a design that's been Frankenstein to death, and you just have that sinking feeling in your gut. So, what went wrong?
Well, here's the hard truth. Good design is only half the battle. The other half is all about communication. And this quote from Tom Greever just hits the nail on the head. The success of your work, it doesn't just hang on your design skills. It really depends on your ability to explain the why behind your choices in a way that gets people excited, builds consensus, and brings everyone along for the ride.
So, what's the deal? Why do so many good, well-thought-out designs just get totally derailed? Well, it usually comes down to a few classic, and let's be honest, super frustrating situations that pop up whenever designers have to present their work to non-designers. Let's take a look at two of the biggest culprits.
Okay, first up, we have the dreaded CEO button. You know the one. You spend weeks, maybe even months doing all the research, following best practices, and then, out of nowhere, a single executive swoops in with a random request that just completely detonates the whole thing. It's kind of funny because it's so true, but it's also the kind of thing that makes you question your entire career path. And then, oh boy, there's homepage syndrome. This is what happens when every single department decides they need a piece of that prime homepage real estate. Suddenly, your clean, focused design turns into this chaotic mess, like a digital garage sale of competing links and buttons. It completely unravels usability, and yeah, it's the kind of thing that makes designers cry themselves to sleep at night. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be this way. We can totally avoid these painful compromises. The secret is to kind of shift our whole understanding of what makes a design truly successful. It's not just about making pretty pixels. It's about building on a foundation of three absolutely crucial pillars.
Yep, 3. That's the magic number. Every single design that's actually successful, the ones that make it out into the world and have a real impact, has to nail 3 specific things. And if you're missing even one of them, your project is probably doomed.
Now here's what's so interesting. As designers, we're usually pretty good at the first two, right? We know our job is to solve business problems and make things that are great for users. But it's that third pillar, getting support from everyone, that's the one we so often forget. And you can have the most amazing, user-friendly solution in the world, but if you don't have that buy-in from the team, it's just not going anywhere. All right, so how do we actually build that support? Well, it starts way before you even think about walking into that meeting room. You've got to change your mindset from preparing a presentation to preparing for the people who are going to be in that presentation. You have to realize that everyone in that room is coming from a different place, with different priorities. You need empathy not just for your users, but for your stakeholders too. The CEO, they're thinking about the big picture. The project manager is sweating the timeline and the budget. And the developer, they're worried about scope creep and building something they can actually maintain. The more you can speak their language and address their specific concerns, the more likely they are to actually hear you. So, what does that preparation actually look like? Well, here's a quick checklist. Before you go in, actually write down your why. Why is this solution better than doing nothing or doing something else? Then think about who's in the room and anticipate their questions. You know John from marketing is going to have an opinion on that icon. Have an answer ready. And please, for the love of all that is holy, remove the distractions. You don't want your meeting getting completely sidetracked because the stakeholder is trying to read your lorem ipsum placeholder text out loud. Trust me, it happens.
Okay, deep breath. You've done your prep work. You're ready. Now it's time for the meeting itself. This is where you have to become a master of conversation. And it all starts with a skill that might feel a little backwards when you're trying so hard to make your point.
Here's the thing that feels counterintuitive but is so powerful. The first step to being heard is to listen. Just let them talk for as long as they want. Don't interrupt. And then when you think they're finally done, pause. Just for 2 or 3 seconds. They call this the art of the pause, and it does 2 incredible things. 1, it gives your brain a second to catch up and form a really smart response. And 2, it makes them feel like you really heard them.
Now when it is your turn to speak, here is the secret weapon. Lead with yes. I don't care what you think about their feedback, the first word out of your mouth should be yes. It doesn't mean, yes, I agree with your terrible idea. It can be, yes, that's a really interesting perspective. Or, yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. It just completely changes the dynamic from a fight to a collaboration. It reminds everyone you're all on the same team.
Here's another great little Jedi mind trick. Your goal is to get the conversation away from subjective feelings and into objective reality. So when a stakeholder says they don't like something, that's just their opinion. Your job is to gently nudge them. You can say something like, "Okay, I hear you. Can you help me understand why having the button there doesn't work for the user?" See that? You're shifting the focus from personal taste to whether the design is actually effective.
So when you start putting all these pieces together, the empathy, the prep work, the listening, the reframing, you begin to see your role as a designer in a totally new light. It's about more than just what's on the screen. And I absolutely love this analogy. Your job isn't just about making one little piece of the puzzle perfect. You have to solve for the whole cube. You'll have someone come in and say, "Hey, I just want this one side to be red. Just turn this little piece for me." And that's your job. You're the connective tissue. You're the one who can say, "Yes, I get it. We all want this side to be red. I want it to be red too. But you got to understand that when I turn this one piece here, it messes up all these other sides. I have to solve for the whole cube." You are the one person in the room who sees how all the different pieces, the business goals, the user needs, the tech stuff, all fit together.
Okay, so most of the time, logic and reason and all these great communication tricks, they're going to work. But we all know there are some people who are just, well, they're just unreasonable. For those special occasions, there's one last tactic you can use. It's a little shady, maybe a little deceptive, but hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
It's a legendary little trick called painting a duck. The story goes that this game designer was just sick of a difficult stakeholder making endless, pointless changes. So for the next review, he secretly added a tiny, obnoxious, quacking pet duck to one of the animations. When it was time for the review, the stakeholder looked everything over, nodded, and said, "You know what? This all looks great. Just one thing. Get rid of the duck." He gave them something easy and obvious to critique, which protected all the actual, important work. Now use this power wisely.
So look, at the end of the day, being a great designer is about so much more than just pixels. It's about your ability to communicate, to build trust, and to guide everyone toward the best possible outcome. So the real question is, what's the first step you're going to take? Are you going to try the art of the pause? Lead with a yes? Think about it, because the most articulate person, well, they usually win.